Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders, from physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance. We leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed.
Jersey Ed. And we have a guest today, Jersey Ed. We'll get to him later, but it's a good friend of mine. It's Joe Ciarcia.
Try it.
Do it. Ciarcia. Ciarcia.
Joe.
Podfather got the giggles.
Wow.
Oh,
God.
man.
The cigar is going. What's in that cigar there, Podfather?
Joe Ciarcia.
That's it.
I got it out.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great today.
I can see you're having a fucking blast
Been
over
a
there.
long day.
It has been. It has been a long day. We've been doing a few podcasts
Yes,
here,
we have.
we've come to the end, but we saved the best for last.
We
right,
did
Mike?
say the best for last.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Going to be providing some of our listeners with some good opportunities here.
Yeah, some good information and some
Great information.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, of course, we always want to thank Genesis House for
Absolutely.
answering the call for the First Responders podcast. Did I get that right?
You did.
All right. And of course, we're under the Friends in Recovery. I was going to say elevator, but umbrella.
Much better.
Is that better? So that's how it's said, Mike. Podfather.
Good job.
We want to thank, like I said, thank Genesis House for having us and supporting us and getting this going. I just want to let everybody know we are powered by your likes, follows, and subscribes, and shares, of course. And sharing is important. Sharing is caring. Get this out. Share this on Facebook and however you share. Follow us on social media and help us get the word out and leave us a review. And how many stars is that, Sweets?
That's going to be 5 stars.
5.
5 stars.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And if anybody needs a definition on that, Sweets is available for
I'll
a
respond to your
tutorial.
emails.
There's a Facebook tutorial on this.
If you
isn't
just
there?
click the 5th star,
Is that what it is?
it's just that one.
So I don't
Just
have to
click the
go
5th
1,
No.
2,
No.
and so on?
No, you just click the 5th one. It does it all for autofills.
I was doing it one by one.
No, it autofills for you.
Okay, good. That's something. I'll take 3 seconds out of
Nice
my
and
day
easy.
now.
We make
All
it
right.
easy for you.
All
Not
right,
surprised.
good. And of course, we're always looking for speakers and people to share their stories about first responders. Anybody out there in the first responders world, you can get a hold of us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com and drop a letter or a line to us, and we'll be more than happy to kind of get you guys on the show. And also, it is time for Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week, and as it flashes across the screen.
Fantastic
Pick of the
graphic.
week. Pick of the week.
The podcast pick of the week. Pick of the week. Yeah, you got to do like a.
You want explosive noises?
Yeah, I want something
pick of
really
the week.
cool.
I'll see what I can do.
I thought we were gonna have music behind this too.
I will put up whatever you want.
Let's do music.
I will make people uncomfortable so that they pay attention to your
That's right,
podcast
that's
pick of the
right.
week.
So as I'm talking, I want to hear dun, 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 Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week.
I gotcha.
All right. So I'm sure we will probably be hearing some special effects in the near future. So my Jersey Ed podcast pick of the week is Survival Dispatch. This is a little, I don't know. I wrote right here, it's not my type of podcast. I listen to a few, but listen, everybody doesn't like the same things I like. So it's called Survival Dispatch. Delivers common sense to prepping solutions for a dangerous world. So I guess it's a lot of the preppers out there. I guess that's what this is about. And from what I'm told, is it's a huge community of preppers. It brings the survival community and their ideas together. And again, it's not a podcast for me, but hopefully, write me an email and let me know, or on Facebook, let us know how you liked it if you listened to it. I don't have the host's name, but look up Survival Dispatch for the podcast pick of the week. One other thing there, Podfather or
Yes.
Godfather, however you want to go by. I'm not sure which one you want to go by today, but Our friend John Sanders wrote us a very nice note. You don't see this every day, guys. Look,
Handwritten
note. Handwritten. I'm not going to read it, but John, thank you.
You can't read.
I can't read.
What is that? Cursive?
Let me read it.
Somebody want to read it?
You can read it. Is that cursive?
It's cursive, yes. And he just thanked us for coming on
John
the
put
show.
some effort into it.
He did. Gad, read it.
Hey, Edward. No wonder you didn't want to read it.
I would have said Ed.
Sorry it took so long to get the patch sent your way. I was waiting for my department, Sioux Fall Fire Rescue, to finally get their new challenge
Coins,
and so I
got here.
I could include them as well. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm also enclosing a challenge coin from the Illinois Fire Department peer support team.
Got that too.
One last thing. If you're still interested in taking me up on my offer for a complimentary coaching session, let me know. The link I sent you in the last email is no longer valid, as I have a new scheduling system for booking my appointments. I'll be happy to send you a new one. Just let me know. P.S. The Podfather is an incredible human being. I've never met a better man.
I don't remember reading that.
Could he send me a picture of him right out of the shower? Would be
riding a horse.
Riding a horse.
God
with
bless.
his long flowing hair.
God bless. Happy New Year, and try to grow some hair.
There it is.
John Sanders.
John Sanders.
You, John.
What a great guy, man. I really enjoyed that show. He was
Good writer too.
Yeah, he's salt of the earth. I think is the best way to explain John
Truthfully,
Sanders.
yeah, very nice.
He is. He's. I listen to his podcast for the first responders. That's one of my go-to podcasts as far as that goes. And it's check it out. It's not my podcast pick of the week, but it's answering the call. No, it's us. We're answering the call. I wonder. John's was the Fire Inside.
Fire Inside.
John Sanders of Fire Inside. So Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. They sent us their badge, their patch. It's going to go up on our wall of heroes. I swear we have one.
We do.
We will start getting that out. But that's another one for the wall of heroes.
Right.
And these are the coins. You probably can't see them, but they're just coins that the fire department has. And he sent us those coins too. One thing I do want to talk about real quick here that he did send us. It's the Illinois Firefighter Peer Support. It's firefighters helping each other. You can get more information at ilffps.org, and tells you all about what they do. If you're a firefighter, it's good to reach out to these guys. They put on a wonderful conference. I think that John is speaking or did speak out just recently. So that's ilffps.org, and that is going to be in the show notes. Is that correct, Sweets?
It will be, yes.
And there'll be a link to that, so you guys, any of you firefighters or anybody who just wants to find out about peer support, this is a wonderful place to start. And Illinois is kind of a leader in the peer support, especially for the firefighters. Dan DeGrace out there, and the Florian program that he runs over at Rosecrans. Oh, Sweets, I'm supposed to get you a Rosecrans phone number. I'm sorry.
You are.
I will get that for you.
Appreciate that.
My business aside.
And just one thing, the Fire Inside is a great Bob Seger song, by the way, in case anyone wants to know.
Absolutely. So that's kind of our department patch this week, and I think last week we had a Canadian patch last week. So.
Yes, we did. The Royal Mountain Canadian Police. Yeah. And they're watching and listening to us.
That's right. They're listening, right?
Answering the call, yes. Yeah. And Dudley Do-Right and his gang up there.
Good.
They always get their man.
Nice. Hey, real quick, I want to. This has something to do with our other podcast, but remember our girl, the one that was in Australia.
Yes.
Janiqua.
Janiqua. Was she Australia or was she in Sweden?
Sweden. So we got people in
They're
Sweden
close together,
also.
You know.
Yeah, they are.
Australia,
people
Sweden,
everywhere.
New Zealand. Yeah.
She's going to be a guest on our other podcast show.
Nice.
She's coming in to the studio because she's going to be in the States.
Super. Well, I hope she was wearing what she was wearing on that show, which was nothing.
We had fun with her. She was a great person.
Yeah,
She's
she was. Character.
So check out Friends in Recovery, the Addiction podcast, to see what we're talking about. A few shows ago, probably two right before Christmas, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and it's Janiqua. She's she's a firecracker. If anybody remembers the 80s and 90s, the coconuts, what she was with the coconuts,
she was with
right?
the coconuts, right?
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, so we have a guest here that
We do.
we're not ignoring, but
a friend of mine and a good friend. He probably after this, he probably won't be a friend of mine.
yeah, he's like, what the fuck, man? What am I doing here? We do curse on this show, so if you're going to play this for any of your friends or colleagues, you might want to put a big X next to it.
So we have Joe Ciarcia with us today. Am I saying the last name right, Joe?
You are. Thank you.
Right on the money. Yep, you're welcome. And geez, thanks for coming. I know this is a little out of your way to show up here today, but we really appreciate it. Joe and I were speaking several weeks ago about police, fire, EMS. Tragically, people die in this line of work. And I was telling him I had some friends that died in a plane crash over 20 years ago. And they were young cops, and they all had young families. And 3 out of the 5 didn't have insurance, any type of insurance. And Joe's in the insurance business. So Joe was giving me some insight into, life insurance, but then about other things too, policies when you're injured in the line of duty and stuff, and which I think is very important, because if you're a cop or a fireman and you're going on these calls you're not expecting, people get hurt, and sometimes they get hurt permanently, sometimes they get hurt temporarily, but sometimes then they get hurt off duty and they're not getting paid. So Joe, this is what he does. He sells different policies. He works hard. He's a very knowledgeable guy, pleasant man, and so I just thought this would be a great opportunity to give out some information for our friends that do answer the call.
Well, the field that we're in, well, the law enforcement field or the first responders field, death is only a step away sometimes, unfortunately, and but fortunately or unfortunately, we're all going to meet that one day,
Right.
And I think we should be prepared for that, no matter if you're law enforcement or not.
Right.
And take care of our families when we're gone, if we're the breadwinners.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was a great idea to have him on, and have him tell us a little bit about what he does and all that. And plus, we're looking for sponsors too. So maybe, just kidding. Always plugging it away, trying to get a sponsor here. So
That's right.
Joe, you want to tell us a little bit about why you're on the show?
Well,
you're probably asking, why am I on this show? But
no, I just want to thank you guys for having me.
Our pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and I'm an independent insurance broker.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a company called Symmetry Financial Group. They're based out of North Carolina, and we have over 3,000 independent brokers like myself across the nation. So we have a wide range of insurance companies that we work with that I'm a writer for,
mm-hmm.
like a field representative for, and what I just got into now is what we call a debt-free life
Policy.
life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
What they do, they utilize a whole life policy. And when I was explaining that to Mike, and he said, "Geez, that sounds really good, because what you can do with that, it's almost like an investment account." So you put away X amount of dollars every month into an investment account, and it compounds in interest, and every 7 years it doubles. But what you do, you borrow off of that, and you eliminate your debt. You manage your money. You could pay for college. Why borrow from banks
Mm-hmm.
when you have to pay interest or high interest? And a lot of the firefighters and police officers, they also have businesses on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of overhead, a lot of debt, And this is one way of financing your own equipment, whether you're a roofer or an excavation company or landscapers on the side. Whatever you may do, you can finance all your own,
through this
all your own
through
equipment.
specific policy.
There's 2 different companies that we work with to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's structured specifically for that reason, okay? To help people eliminate debt, live debt-free, and also it supplies a death benefit. So you get a death benefit, you get a nice retirement,
Mm-hmm.
you have liquidity cash, savings. So later on, God forbid anything happens on the job, your family's well taken care
Mm-hmm.
of. The house is automatically paid for. If you are disabled and you can't go back to work as a firefighter or a first responder, then they do have disability, chronic illness, terminal illness, all different benefits throughout the policies. So this is why I'm here, is to just to put the word out. It's definitely something to sit down. Knowledge is power. It doesn't cost anything to sit with me. I mean, go over. I can get into more detail about everything, and it's definitely beneficial.
Right. I think it's important. Over my career, I was injured a couple of times. I had a broken shoulder as a result of working, so I was fortunate that I did get paid, but I had to have surgery on that shoulder, and it's affected me my whole life. If I had not been on duty when that happened, I would have been out of work for a substantial amount of time. I would not have received any money at all, and I wouldn't have been able to get the help I needed. So I was fortunate in the sense that I was working when it happened. Unfortunate that it did happen. But I just think it's important because I just know that you can fall off a ladder fighting a fire. There's so many different scenarios, and I don't want to be morbid or anything, but people die in this job, and the number one thing you do want to be concerned about is your family and how are they going to the way they're accustomed to living while you're alive is not going to be the way they're going to be accustomed to living when you're deceased, unless you do have some type of insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and after the break, we're going to pick your brain a little bit more, Joe, about the specifics of the policy and all that, and so maybe we'll get into that.
Sure. Answering the call, the First Responder Podcast. We'll be back.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. The First Responder Recovery Program at Genesis House is led by a doctorate-level therapist with direct professional experience as a first responder himself. Treatment modalities focus on psychiatric care, relapse prevention, stress management, and trauma-informed care for PTSD. Learn why their individualized approach makes a difference for first responders. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Answering the call, the First Responder Podcast, and I am the Podfather, along here with
Jersey Ed.
Yes, and a good friend of ours,
Steve, Joe, Steve. Why am I fucking calling you Steve? I don't know why. Sorry, Joe.
That's all right.
So yeah, the life insurance is huge. My wife was a big advocate. I don't know why for me to get life insurance.
I know why.
But I have 5 kids. We have a house and cars and all that, and she needs to. If anything ever, I'm 8 years old or 7 years, whatever it is, older than her. Obviously, time wise, I'm probably the first one to go. So she has to take care of everything once I pass on, and with between 5 kids and
with that contract on your head, I mean, you're definitely the
well,
first to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Yeah, I should have been gone a while ago, but I've been dodging that motherfucker a long time. So, but it's just it's part of life, and we were even talking before. I don't even have a will, and that's not good either. I mean, I don't own tons of stuff. I don't, but it's still, if I'm not mistaken, the state could probably take all my stuff if something's not put down. Are you into writing wills too, or do you know about that? Is that something
I
another
do know
service?
about it, and the company does do wills and trusts.
Okay.
I don't actually specialize in that.
Okay.
But I do have some knowledge about it.
But how
it would go into probate court if you don't have a will.
Okay.
All your personal belongings.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, if you have life insurance, your beneficiary is going to get, your wife, or whether it be your kids or the firstborn or whatever. How you have it listed.
Yeah.
They would get everything that you own.
Okay. Well, to talk a little bit how important it is besides life insurance. How important it is probably to have a will too.
Well, yeah, it's very important. I mean, it eliminates the mass confusion. I mean, it's sad enough that we just lost Dad, and now we got to fight over everything.
Right.
Yeah, so if you have it all written down, what goes what, and everybody gets this share, that share, and all that.
It's all broken down.
It just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's easier for when it goes in front of a judge or a lawyer. You sit down. If you have a will and a trust, that you will go to the lawyer's office to do all that.
Okay. And I'm sure it makes the life insurance piece a little bit easier also.
Yeah,
Your
well,
end.
you know, I specialize in when you said, you know, about the house and you happen to pass, or God forbid, you know, something happens, and what's your family gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do they have to pack up after all those years sitting in, you know, after living in this house, and you have moved to different schools and everything? So that's where the life insurance and mortgage protection comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You have you know, for a small amount of money, like you were saying earlier, $350,000, depending upon the age, your health, and you know, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually cover the whole mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid anything ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that way there, your wife is taken care of. You know there's always going to be a roof over your kids' heads.
Yeah.
They don't have to pack up and leave. It's hard enough
Right.
dealing with the loss, never mind packing up, because the banks don't care.
No.
In 3 months, they're going to be knocking at your door,
Yeah.
and
They
they
want
want
it.
that. They want their money.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Talk a
Yeah.
little bit about the benefit you were saying earlier that that the house gets paid off. How does that work? I mean, what if I get the life insurance today and 3 weeks from now I die? Is my house being paid off? Or talk a little bit about that.
If I was to sign you up on say a regular life insurance policy, not the one that we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but even so, that one's the same. You know, that also has more benefits because it involves a whole life policy where you can borrow, and that's basically how to get out of your debt and stop paying all the interest to the banks and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the policy all works the same. It's God forbid you did happen to pass in 3 weeks or a month. Yeah, that policy's in effect. You had a $350,000 policy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're gonna be cutting that check to you as long as it wasn't like a suicide or it wasn't intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
By accident, obviously, or natural.
Natural death. Yeah.
Yeah, anything like that, then
Then
yeah.
it's covered. It's a
covered.
piece. It's a peace of mind that you have.
Absolutely.
You know, I guess just walking around in life. I mean, you know, I worry about my wife and kids. I worry about, you know, the family, and you know, I'm always traveling. I'm flying a lot. I'm on the road a lot, and you know, I do worry about it. And I can just imagine as first responders, Podfather. I mean, you probably heard the horror stories of wives or spouses coming to you because of your EAP, and just knowing people in the field of, what do I do now? We had no life insurance, or we had nothing. How do I do this? You know, I'm sure you heard those horror stories.
Yeah, I had friends that died in a plane crash. They were hunting young cops. They were all in their, well, not all of them, but four out of the 5 were in their early 30s, mid 30s, and they went on a hunting trip up in Canada. And unfortunately, the plane they were on, it crashed, and they died. And one of them had just retired. He had been retired less than 2 months, and he was all set. His family, you know, they were well-to-do, and he had taken care of them. There was another family that was pretty well off as well. They had insurance, but the other 3 did not, and it was very difficult. So what my union did at the time, the Lowell Police Patrolmen's Union, is we bought everybody a life insurance policy for $100,000, and we paid for it. I believe it was for 5 years.
Wow.
And to get everybody just on the same page, even if you had a policy, you were going to get an extra policy with our union. And then after 5 years, it was up to you to either keep paying it or, you know, get out. Myself personally, I was insured for $500,000 until I retired, and now I am insured for $250,000 until I die, because I just want to make sure the people that I leave behind have something anyway. You know, $255,000 sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not. You know, when you look at if you're going to live another 20 years, you know, it's not a lot of money, but it's something.
Yeah.
And you should always have something. Talking to Joe, just kind of made me realize what we do here, the 3 of us here at Sweet Studio, for answering the call. And I thought this would be a great opportunity. We always talk about their wellness and the physical wellness and mental wellness, but here's their financial wellness, you know. Because I know in the academy, no one's telling you how to be a financial wizard, or how to handle the money you're going to be making, which they should, because sometimes, you know, you get a job like this and the money's pretty good, and the benefits are great, and, you know, it's an opportunity that you should really take a look at, you know, in the event you're not here, that you're going to be able to leave your family at least living the lifestyle they're accustomed to.
Yeah, yeah. And Joe, like we were talking beforehand, you know, you were saying that, you know, I just lost my whole mind thought here, but you were saying that, you know, it either old or young, or, you know, whatever, this can happen at any time. I think you were talking about, if my brain is corrected, right? But But Sweets, speaking of young, you're probably the youngest guy in the room here. We always talk about the Truth Campaign, and when you're younger, you think you're never going to be in a wheelchair.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts on life insurance? Because you're young. You're what?
43.
43. So that's
Right.
pretty young. You don't worry about life insurance right now, right? I mean, you think.
No, I mean, I probably should.
Yeah.
I should probably, have a living will and stuff like that, owning companies and having kids. But, I mean, I put it off like most people do, irresponsibly. I'm putting it off. I don't need a term policy right now. I'm not going to die in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But you just don't know. And, I mean, you're talking, a Podfather, you're saying that we talk about the wellness of all the first responders, and it's the wellness of the family. It's not thinking about yourself.
Correct.
It's thinking about everybody else and making sure that if something does happen, God forbid, that they're taken care of, or that your affairs are taken care of when you're gone. So, I don't think about it, and the more I think about how irresponsible not thinking about it is, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Correct.
And Joe, do you see that with the younger crowd that's not kind of in tune with that? And I understand it, because I wouldn't have thought about it. My wife had a policy on me for about 10 years now, but 10 years ago, I'm like 43. I was 43.
So she didn't win on that scratch ticket, huh?
No.
No, you actually do. I had a lot of clientele that I was trying to get in touch with and call, and you can tell, it has their age and everything written on the paper, and they fill out whenever you get a mortgage. And when I was doing the mortgage protection, their numbers would come up as like on the listings. So I would get that as a lead, and I would call them and try to sell them the mortgage protection, and just to let them know. But you always knew the younger people. Not right now. Maybe next month. But I've always, the majority of my clientele is between 35 and 55.
Yeah.
Because they're more responsible.
Yeah.
They they're thinking about it long term and what's going to happen to their families. They're married,
Well, that fits in my timeline. I'm thinking about
There
it.
you
So
go.
in 2 years, I'll probably do it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the thing that we see at Genesis House a lot too is, and in the industry, Mike, Sweets and Mike, you guys seen this. Especially the police officers and firefighters, they get an insurance policy that's bottom of the line,
Right.
and it doesn't do much for them,
Right.
as far as health insurance goes. And then when they go to use it, either in an emergency room, they have a $1,000 deductible, or they come down to Genesis House because they have a substance abuse problem. Nobody ever thinks they're gonna have a substance abuse problem. And then next thing you know, you're at Genesis House or a treatment center, and they want $10,000 as a deductible.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I had a substance abuse problem my entire life. I've been sober for 10 years, and I went and looked at an insurance policy a couple of years ago, and I did not take into consideration if I have to go back to treatment.
Right.
Even though I know it's something I should make sure is there, I still wasn't like, will this help me get to treatment? And I know better.
Yeah.
And I still didn't do it.
You don't look at it that way. I mean, a lot of families, and you probably understand this, Joe, is they're under a budget. They can't afford, another $100 a month or another $35 a month, whatever I don't know what the policies cost, but sometimes you got to carve it out and just live with it, because once it's in and it's coming out automatically and you're paying it, that extra policy, either life insurance or health insurance, it's not gonna hurt you. You just have to adjust your lifestyle, because it could be adjusted for you somewhere down the road, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the hard part of it.
Yeah. And this isn't just for the first responder. It's also, it can be for their wives. If their wife is working as a hairdresser, she doesn't have a 401k, so she has no retirement, but yet she's doing all these years. She's been a hairdresser for 20 years. Well, she could have a small policy. You can put that in, and you can grow. It's one of those. It's under the category of the debt free, but that's what that is. It's really like an investment type policy where you grow and you can have a retirement. You can have a death benefit, and you can just plan for the future, for college, whatever you want.
And you can borrow against it.
Yeah,
if
you
need
borrow
to.
against it. You can, you pay it back. It's very. I'll get into more detail as
Sure.
With the phone calls coming in.
Yeah,
The
with the phone calls.
question that I have is, if say Sweets waits, he's 43 right now. Say Sweets wants to get a policy when he's 62. That either doesn't happen, or you're going to be paying through the ass.
Exactly. The younger, the better. Obviously,
Right.
because you're not, your life expectancy is a lot more when you're younger, obviously. And if you're not a smoker and you're not a drinker, or
We don't
anything
smoke
like
here,
that,
right?
Then,
No.
There's no smoking going
No
on.
smokers on this drum.
and then it's
Anybody got a lighter?
Your health is
Your
health is a lot better when you're younger. So
Yeah.
obviously your premiums are going to be a lot less,
course.
and you can get a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, so as a whole life policy, you can be paying very minimal for a lot.
Can you get that locked in for as you get older? Say Sweets buys it today, and then when he turns 65, 60, whatever, is that going to still be the same policy that he's paying whatever it is today?
And on the whole life policy, you can stop paying into it at a certain amount, at a certain time.
Yeah.
And the money that you already put into it and everything that you have in there, as far as your savings, your liquidity, cash,
Right.
and all that still grows. It's still guaranteed. Right now, it's guaranteed no less than 4% a year.
Okay.
Which is, the market's not even guaranteed.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's true.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's guaranteed to grow and just compound every 7 years. So if you stop paying into it at a certain time, the money's still there.
And that's
always still be
and that's called a
available to
term
you.
policy. Is that what that is?
No, that's a whole life.
A whole
whole
life. So what's term versus whole life? Just to give us some.
So like if you had a 30-year mortgage and you're like, well, I only want to get a 30-year life insurance policy just in case, so at least the house is paid for.
Yeah.
That's term.
Okay.
30 years.
So after 30 years, it stops and there's nothing else involved.
Set time, right?
It's a set time.
Okay, a term. Okay, I got it. All right.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Joe Ciarcia, I just want to mention all the show notes will be on the bottom of this after the show. I think it's important that anyone out there listening to know that we are, we try to go the extra mile, so to speak,
Right.
to provide
inform everybody.
Right, to provide different avenues that's going to help you in your career and in your future, and this is one of them. And I can't,
And well, Joe, why don't you give us give a phone number or an email or whatever, or a website that they can get a hold of you with?
It will be on the screen also.
It will be.
But it's the letter J in my last name, ciarcia.com. That's my website. You can go there. You can just scroll around. There's mortgage protection. There's chronic illness. There's disability. And then definitely take a look under the debt-free life. Click around. If you have any questions, at the bottom of the page, you just fill out you write all your information, and it goes directly to my email. And I'll be more than happy to sit down and call people back, and
We'll make sure our guests can see all that.
Yeah, that'll be on the show notes.
So we'll, I'll set up appointments with you, and we'll meet personally one-on-one, and
you make it easy.
We'll go from
You make
there.
it easy to take their money.
Well, it's not, but
I know, I'm just kidding.
It's an investment.
Yes.
It really
Easy
is.
to invest.
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
really is. You
can't
gotta
ask for
take
more
care of
than
your
that.
family.
No, you can't.
definitely can.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Joe, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, Joe,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you
Appreciate
very
you.
much.
Yeah.
Real
Thank you,
pleasure.
Joe.
Real
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you. Well, Podfather.
Yeah, answering the call, the First Responder Podcast, and it was a real pleasure having Joe on the show. And
It was, yeah. It was
Sweets, Ed.
It was very informational.
Yeah.
It was
Agreed.
I'm sorry I threw you out there a little bit on the bus, but it was a perfect opportunity.
I'll take it. I'll take that along with the insult of being the youngest guy in the room. Right.
You are the youngest guy in the room, I believe.
Yeah.
That's a compliment.
unless Joe's a little bit younger than you, but
I wish.
I know, right? Get those years back. So, anyways, but Podfather, you want to take us out?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody, for answering the call, the First Responder Podcast for all you first responders.
Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting our first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in becoming a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.